looking to turn 12 by 12 patterned paper into cards without making a pile of scraps to deal with in the future? Hi, I'm Jess from JessCrafts.com, and I'm here to help you make the most of your crafty supplies and time. So today I'm going to share with you how to take one piece of 12 by 12 pattern paper and turn it into 4 A2 size cards. We're going to be celebrating Christmas in July today, so let's get making. We're going to start by talking about how we'll cut the pattern paper. This here is 12 by 12 base paper busting template number 30, and that means that I have 29 other ones already available at jesscrafts.com that you can download. This one's going to be the first one in the link in the video description. It tells you exactly how to cut your pattern paper so that it leaves no scraps, and then it will show you a sketch for how to assemble those pieces, and also the measurements for the mats are on the sketch. Now, this is sketch number 30, but I actually just finished designing sketches 31 through 40, which means that there's going to be new 12 by 12 paper busting templates coming soon. So we're going to first start by cutting off the branding strip for this paper. This is the Vicki Boutin Peppermint Kisses line from American Crafts. And you can of course use whatever pattern paper you have in your stash. When I look at the template, it tells me that I need to cut this 1.5 inch tall strip. And so I see, because this is all one continuous strip, this is a good place to start my cuts. So, because if I were to start trying to cut the 4-inch piece, if I cut one long 4-inch piece, you see that it would interfere with that piece along the bottom. So that's why I'm going to start where I do. So my paper is non-directional. If you have a directional pattern paper, you're going to want to make sure you are cutting it off the bottom, because the sketch works with directional pattern paper as long as you cut everything with that in mind. So I cut my 1.5 inch strip off the bottom. Then I can go ahead and work on some of my other cuts. The next cut I make could be any one of these, or it could be the one down the center to make it to the 5.25 inch mark. So if we come to 5.25, that should have perfectly cut that in half. Then we are going to cut this to 2 4-inch pieces and 2 2-inch pieces. So I'll take it from the 12 and go to 10 for 2 inches, 8 for another 2 inches, and then 4 for my last cut. Do the same thing to 10, to 8, to 4, and that will give me all the different pieces that I need. And then of course this one we want to come back, and we knew it was going to be cut into 3-inch pieces. So again, I can just measure from the other end, from 9, 6, just subtracting 3 each time. I find that to be a little faster than bringing it to the 3-inch mark every time, but you do what works best for your paper cutter. So I mentioned that I have these new 12 by 12 sketches coming out. That means, so over the next couple weeks, if you subscribe to the channel, you'll start seeing these sketches. However, I do offer my sketches in like really convenient, easy to print packs on Etsy. So if you don't want to download each individual template and sign up and get it delivered to your email inbox, you can download one PDF from Etsy and get all the sketches at one time. And so that would be, you could do groups of 10, but also you could get all 40 sketches for 12 by 12 cards, and that will be linked in the video description below, as well as a little coupon code that you can combine with that. So here I have some scraps. I am using the Hero Arts Cranberry colored cardstock, and of course you just use whatever coordinates with your paper. I do find that to be a really nice holiday red though. And I don't need any mats for this large piece if you look at the sketch here, but I do need some 5.25 by 2.25 inch mats. So I'm gonna see, what do I have in my scraps that I can use? This is not quite right. I can cut a 5.25 here though. So that's what we'll do. And then we'll cut 2.25 4 times. And then the other measurement that we need, see, hopefully we're gonna get it out of, oh, no, not quite. We're not gonna get all 4 pieces out of this, but I do like trying to always go to my scraps first. Here's another piece. Is it? No, this is also 5 inches. Ugh, so close. Okay. I bet you we can do it out of this one though. So we'll go to 2.25 by 5.25. Now we've got all that from scraps. And we haven't cut into any new cardstock yet. And then this, the other piece we need is 3 1/4 by 1 3/4. So this is almost 3 1/4. That means I can probably get a couple of the strips that I need out of this. And you just keep going till you get 4 of each thing. If you're starting with a piece of brand new 8 1/2 by 11 cardstock, you're definitely going to be left with some scraps, but you won't be left with any patterned paper scraps. That's always my promise, no patterned paper scraps. So I think we can get another piece out of this. Ooh, that has the 3 1/4. Okay, so this was die cut, so the edge wasn't perfectly smooth. That's why I chopped that off real quickly. And then we're gonna get our last 2 1 3/4 inch pieces. Okay, so always encourage you to start with your cardstock scraps. I'm a big believer in not creating scraps and then using them when and where I can. So I have each piece that I need, and I can organize them into trays to keep everything together, or I sometimes use pouches, different things, or you can just keep them in piles on your desk, whatever works for you. I'm a person who tends to lose pieces, so I tend to like to just put out a couple of trays, and I'll get the 3 pieces of paper and the 2 pieces of cardstock I need for each one into its tray and get ready to go. Because this template only makes 4 cards, it's a great one for mass producing because you use up a lot of your 12 by 12 paper quick. And so sometimes if I'm going to be making a bunch of cards at once, I like a stamp set that will cut a bunch of sentiments. And so there's some from Tailored Expressions, but this one is from LDRS. I think Mama Elephant makes them as well. And so this one has a bunch of different Christmas sentiments, and they also have a birthday version. And what's cool about that is they work with the same die. So I can cut all of the birthday sentiments at one time. I can cut all of the Christmas sentiments at one time. And this is true of the Tailored Expression and Mama Elephant sets. And I'll leave you a couple of examples in the video description where you buy one die and then you can cut multiple stamp sets and they cut multiple sentiments at a time. Now, here I did something a little bit different. I had this scrap of craft cardstock. It wasn't enough to fit all the sentiments on, but I just wanted to point out you don't need to do that. You can just tape down and cut out a couple of the sentiments and it will still work just fine. There are these little guide points, so I would suggest positioning the stamp such that you can use the guides, but if you can't, then you can just kind of eyeball the stamp over, but a lot of these stamp sets have those guides, so that can be quite helpful, and then I can have a whole pile of sentiments ready to go, so I can make many multiples of this if I want, or I could just put these in a bag and I store my stamp sets in bags as well, so I can either just place it in the back, you know, put them all in with my stamp set, or I could put them in a separate smaller bag. And then that helps me to be able to embellish quickly. So let's assemble one of the cards. You repeat the same process for all of them. I have decided that I have 2 sides of the paper, and so I want to combine my patterned papers. You absolutely can do this with single-sided paper, but just know you're going to have a lot of the same pattern on top of each other. But the other choice is to take 2 single-sided pattern papers and then mix up the pieces. So if you cut 2 12 by 12 papers to the same sizes, follow the template for both of them, then you can recombine them with different patterns. You can do 3 so that you have, you know, each piece is a different pattern. All of that will work with this particular sketch. Now, occasionally, even though in theory I'm measuring all of my pieces to the same mark, like this was supposed to be 5 1/4, my cardstock was 5 1/4, sometimes my measurements come up a little short, and you'll see this also lines up with this 5 1/4. My cardstock got a little long. Not really sure what happened there, no problem. I can just trim that off a little bit, and we're fixed. And I'm going to alternate the pattern papers. I'm using the mostly solid in the back, then this paper that's like a little bit busier in some ways because it has the branches, so there's like white space in the back and then the busyness of the branches. I thought, well, you know, when I go to put my focal point down, or if I go to put a sentiment on top of it, maybe it feels a little bit less readable. I will use the solid side. So, or the more solid side, like the less busy patterned paper. Another thing I like to do is if I'm going to have a piece that is on top of some cardstock, but not all the way across, I'll take a little scrap of cardstock and put that behind my piece as well. And then that way everything kind of lays a little bit more smooth and flat. Then I can put down my patterned paper piece. I have a set of embellishments that coordinates with my pattern paper, so from the same Vicki Boutin Peppermint Kisses line. This is also the same line that I used in my Christmas card class. So I have a free Christmas card class here on YouTube. I'll link in the video description. It shows you how to make 15 cards in about an hour, 15 Christmas cards, and there's also a no scrap method. So if you think that would be interesting to you, go ahead and check it out. And then I'm going to pick one from my pile of sentiments. I'm going to pick a smaller sentiment so that way I can tuck it under here, but I'm also, because like, you know, something like this, I would have to go over, although actually maybe that kind of works here. I could put it right over the ornament. Whereas if I put this one here and I tuck it under, it's still going to be hanging off the card quite a bit. So I think the answer is actually to place one over my my embellishment. So put a little glue down there. I kind of go in between using an adhesive roller and glue for when it makes the most sense. I have the most wonderful time of the year. If you had one, like say this one, it didn't get fully stamped or cut out, it might be one that you could use to like layer it up to kind of give dimension, or you could just put your foam stickers behind it, you know, your foam dimensionals. But I was like, well, let me take this opportunity to pop something up with what it would otherwise be going into the garbage so that I'm not wasting any resources on foam tape. And then that will just give it a little bit of a pop there. And then you can continue that process until you have 4 cards per sheet of 12 by 12 patterned paper. Remember to get your template right there in the video description first link. If you found this video helpful, here's another video where you can find more ideas for enjoying your crafty time and supplies. Let me know you like this video with a share to your crafty community. Subscribe and click the bell so you don't miss the next template or tutorial, and check the video description for product links. See you in the next video.